We are loved beyond measure. At some point, you just have to trust her. She loves you more than you will ever know. She wants us to love one another.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of Priestess at the Altar. Sunday morning message. I'm glad that you have decided to join me. If you are watching this on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern, then you are live with me. I'm watching this recording with you, and the chat feed is live so we can interact with one another. As always, I'm going to start with a prayer, the prayer that I always start with. If you've been watching for a couple weeks, you know the prayer. If not, and you're new to the prayer, just follow along. First, I'm going to ask you to get centered and take 3 deep breaths with me. I'm going to do it with you. If you wish, you can close your eyes. You're going to breathe in through your mouth and out through your nose. And again. And one more time. It is our love and our passion, our faith that brings us here, where we can spend just a little time to commune, to be still, to feel the life force of human connection, which also connects us to her. Just imagine for a moment a silver thread that connects everyone who watches or listens to this video today from different places at different times all over the world. For we have been drawn together in the light, in the peace, and the love of the goddess. And together, we all say, Amen Dea. Amen Dea. Today's message comes to us from the Native American Navajo tribe. The Navajo ancestral land is located in Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, and a little bit of Utah. And after colonization, the Navajo Nation is the largest Indian reservation in the United States. So this Navajo story of morality and ethics I'll be reading to you comes from the book, The Sacred Ways of Knowledge, Sources of Life by Peggy V. Beck, Anna Lee Walters, and Nia Francisco. So this is a little parable from the Navajo tradition. Monster Slayer, who is the twin brother of Born for Water, Sons of Changing Woman, and the Sun, made preparation for the inhabitants of this earth. He killed all the monsters, everything that would prey on the people. When he thought he had got rid of all the monsters that would be deadly to the people, that would devour the people, he thought he had finished his role and he was coming back to his home on that little mesa that is the cradle of our origin. Then he met someone and asked him, I thought I had killed all the enemies of the people, and you are still alive. How did you dodge me? Then he found out that this was poverty. No, grandchild, I don't want to be killed, said poverty. If you kill me, then it will be the end of humanity, because you will have no knowledge of the needs, the necessity of one another, and the urge to do things for yourself and others. I should be here, and it will help you to develop compassion for one another. There will be need, There will be necessity. There will be the urgency to do things for yourself and for those around you because you are a human and you have certain needs. Your moccasins will wear away, and there is necessity that you get new moccasins. It develops your mind that you have to acquire and look for those things that you need and others need. If you kill me, you will be like the rest of the animal world, without compassion for your fellow man and concern for yourself. You, as a human, should retain me, but I'm not the only one. There are 4 of us all in this category. The first one that he met, he didn't kill. He didn't kill poverty. He didn't kill the need. He didn't kill the want. Sorry, I lost my place. He saw that man needed poverty to be humble and to be concerned with the needs of others as well as himself. He met another one, as the first stated, there were 4 of them. He met the second person. The sun god boy says, I thought I killed all the monsters that would be killing the humanity on this earth, but I've noticed you are still alive. The answer came that he didn't want to be killed because I have a definite purpose to live and to stay with you. He found that this one was hunger, because I must have a place in your life to bother your stomach. When your stomach becomes empty, you will feel that you're hungry and you will think, develop your mind about how to get food. You will become industrious and stop being lazy. You will go out and look for game or into the fields to get the crop. I have a definite purpose to live with your people. Without me, you will be lazy and couldn't develop the qualities of mind and strength you should have for this world. So that's the second person he let go. Hunger was not killed. The spirit of hunger was not destroyed. It was left purposely to remain with us to make us work. Then he went ahead and met the third person. He asked him the same question. I thought I had killed all the enemies of humanity. Are you still around here yet? How was it I missed you? He found that this third was fatigued. Every night we should go to sleep. It's a must if we are not to forget the world of the spirit. We have to have the sleep to be in good health. If you kill me, said Fatigue, you will never rest. We have to have your sleep each night to replenish both your physical and spiritual strength. Without sleep, man would forget the spirit and be aware only of the physical world. If you kill me, that will be the end. Your eyes will dry up. You won't get the necessary rest to continue your life. So he didn't kill him. He let him abide with humanity. But there is an extreme to that thing too. If you do nothing but sleep, you'll die of poverty. You'll be lazy and die of want. It is a part of the life necessity to sleep, but if you continue to do nothing but sleep, you'll fall into the hands of hunger, which forces you to work. He let fatigue go because it was necessary that he be retained as a help to humanity. He went on again and met the fourth person. He told him the same thing. I thought I had killed all the enemies of humanity, and here you are. You are still alive. He found that it was body lice. He wanted to kill him, but the body lice also had a purpose. Without lice, people wouldn't bother to keep clean. When people come together to comb each other's hair, it's kind of a leisure period for them. Those periods, they'll be talking about something that happened with community. It serves a purpose that they have the time to visit. Body lice forces people to make an effort to keep clean and to be sociable. So he wasn't killed either. Body lice he let go to abide with humanity. 4 of those, as a group, were given freedom to operate in their sphere. By viewing this legend, we know that it definitely has purpose. It is a problem. How to combat the needs in a person's life, how to think of others, what to wear, what to eat. Is he tired? Does he need that rest? Does he need that cleanliness? To my knowledge, it is those things that are an aid to humans and force us to think, to act. I think it was well that they were spared. Otherwise, our efforts for the needs of the human race would have dried up. So this Navajo story of morality and ethics, in many ways, this story is not, it's not new to you. I have a feeling that this story was written after the colonization, perhaps as a means to explain to children who were born free and then suddenly had a want and a need. But that's just my, I don't know, that's just my opinion. But anyway, so in many ways, this story is not new to you because all our lives you've heard that the reason for struggle is that you have to have the bad with the good, you have to have the yin with the yang, you have to have light with darkness. If you were never sad, you wouldn't appreciate happy, and so on. But it seems to me that the Native American has a bit of a different spin on that, that not only is suffering necessary, but it is for our benefit and it is for our growth. Um, you know how when something bad happens and you tell someone, and the first words out of their mouth are, I'm sorry, but you know, everything happens for a reason, and you just want to smack them. Of course you do, because they've minimized your experience. You know that in the grand scheme of things, what they said is true. Everything does happen for a reason, often a reason that is beyond our limited understanding, or it's one very small part of a very big picture we cannot see. But in the moment, when you still feel the sting of whatever the thing was that happened to you, you're unable to use that rational mind excuse. It takes time to see when something that we perceive as negative has actually worked to our advantage. And so I'll share with you that, you know, some time ago, my wife and I sponsored a Native American and her grandchildren on Pine Ridge Reservation. So some time ago, my wife and I, we sponsored a Native American elder and her grandchildren on Pine Ridge Reservation. We weren't allowed to send money because there's a lot of robbery and crime on the reservation, and but we sent whatever they needed. We could buy it from Amazon and have it shipped to the reservation. So we would send things like um, toilet paper and dry goods and paper towels and dishwashing liquid and all of those things. And then we would alternate between those things and then things that they would never buy for themselves, like sneakers and sweaters and toys and footballs and Converse, and you know what I mean? Like the kids would go to school and they thought they were cool, and you know what I mean? Just like I said, stuff that they would never be able to buy for themselves. And we would speak to our elder, whose name was Carol. I'm sure Carol wasn't her original name, but her last name was Two Crow, so her name was Carol Two Crow, and we would speak to her on the phone every few weeks. And she was one of the most cheerful people I'd ever known, and she would speak to me of their being on the res as an opportunity to build community and to keep the family close and to keep the old ways intact. Like she knew the value of her suffering, and I was always in awe of that. I'm because poverty, hunger, fatigue, illness, those things are rampant on Pine Ridge Reservation. Yeah, and like I said, I think the story was created by the Navajo after, and the people on Pine Ridge aren't. That's a different part of the country, and I don't know if everyone on Pine Ridge is, but the family that we sponsored were Lakota. But I really think that that legend was written after colonization as a way to explain to their children who were born free and were accustomed to being fed and clothed and safe and warm, and now they find themselves wanting. And they figured out a way to explain their suffering in a positive light. But maybe not. I mean, I could be totally wrong about that. But the story itself does, it teaches morality and ethics and compassion. And I'm always amazed that it seems that those who have the least are always willing to give the most. I remember a story from my childhood that was probably told by a priest in a Sunday sermon because, in the first episode of Priestess at the Altar, Sunday morning messages, or no, when I put out the little trailer for it talking about that I was going to do this, I talked about my childhood and growing up in the church. So it was probably one of those like Sunday morning sermons. And the priest told the story of, this woman, this elderly homeless woman who came in and wanted to tithe her 10%. And when the collection basket went around, she put 10 pennies in the collection plate, and how after the mass he wept, and how her 10 pennies were more valuable than the fives and tens and 20s and 50s from the other congregants. I was so moved by that story. I'm getting choked up just talking about it now. But that has been my experience my whole life, is that the people that have the least are always willing to give the most. So the truth is, I don't know why that is. But it does seem that the less we have, the more we're willing to give away. And maybe because the secret of giving is that it does feel good. I mean, I know that was true for me. My wife and I are not wealthy by any means. We're not poor by any means either, but we're certainly not wealthy, at least by American standards. But we spent way more money than was required of us on that little family in Pine Ridge because we loved doing it. And when we talked to Carol, she would tell us how happy the kids were, and they would send us pictures, and we reveled in spoiling them at Christmas, but we also wept that they were celebrating a Christian holiday at all because they had so been indoctrinated. Anyway, so I think it's interesting that when it came to that in this legend, when it came to fatigue, that the monster spoke of sleep as a way to, as a gateway to other realms in a dream state, and as a way to maintain their spiritual life, and that the spiritual life is crucial. And I don't know why that is either. Spiritual people seem to be more giving than non-spiritual people. And it's my understanding that being giving, right, and being charitable is part of any spiritual path, whether it's tied to religion or not, right? Spiritual equals compassion equals charitable. At least that's been true in my experience, and in most of the people that I know who have, varied spiritual paths or religious paths, and they're all compassionate and giving. It's like it's like when the stewardess does the thing at the beginning of a flight when you travel on an airplane, and they always tell you to put your mask on first before you put somebody else's mask on. We have to take care of ourselves before we can take care of somebody else. I think that's another big theme in here, right? Especially in the first one, in poverty, it was about teaching need, that we are needful and other people are needful, and we have to take care of ourselves before we can take somebody else. I think that was another key point in this story. So I don't know. I think it's a beautiful story. I think knowing what we know about the colonization of the Native American, it's also a sad story. Um, but the Native Americans that I have come to know in my life, they have joy and they have spirit and they have peace. And I admire that. They are a deeply spiritual people. So I think the last thing that I want to say is something that I heard earlier today that I think kind of ties into this, right? That suffering is necessary. Suffering is necessary. Um, and not only necessary, but beneficial, right? I think that's kind of the point of this Native American story. Suffering is necessary, but it's also beneficial to us if we really stop and think about it. So, the last thing I want to say to you today is something that I heard earlier today. I listen to a lot of spiritual speakers on the days that I record these because it motivates me to speak. I don't know, like they do, I guess, right? Um, because I want to be effective and I really do want to carry a message of hope, and I want to move you, and I want to get you to think about your relationship with the goddess, and I want you to be invested in your spiritual life and see what that does for you. And I want you to, grow in your spiritual path and continue to hone those things like compassion and grace and gratitude. And I know that if you're watching this, hopefully that's what you want to. You could just be sitting on your couch watching me making fun of me, and that's fine too. But I hope that you come because I have something you want. Um, but I also can tell you that very little of it comes from me, right? The idea itself to do this came from her. It all comes from her. Everything I do, the podcast, this, even Maud, inspired by her, dedicated to her, motivated by her. Everything is for her. I want to be clear about that, right? That it's not an ego trip ever. So I'll leave you with this. I was listening to Rob Bell this morning. If you're not familiar with Rob Bell, I encourage you to check him out. He's all over YouTube. He has his own podcast called The Robcast, and he is a Christian, and he is another white dude. But if you can get past that, as I did, I think you'd really like him. He's also very funny. So he has this little tidbit about happiness versus joy. And that's what I was thinking about when I read this story, and suffering being necessary. And he says that the difference between happiness and joy is that happiness Happy is first, happiness is fleeting, and happy only exists in a binary. Like you have to be either sad or happy. But joy encompasses the whole human experience. Happy, sad, elation, heartache, devastation, excitement, breathlessness, ecstasy, disappointment, hate, love, and every emotion under the sun. That's what I want to leave you with today. And body lice, because I'm just teasing. I want to leave you with emotion. I want to leave you with hope and gratitude. And suffering is necessary. I guess that's the message, right? Suffering is necessary. It helps us rest. Fatigue helps us rest. Disease or lice or skin rash, whatever. Those things help us stay clean. Hunger helps us stay healthy. Poverty helps us remember those in need. So that's all I have for you today. Have a fabulous Sunday and a terrific week. Until next week, may the peace and the love of the goddess be with you.
The girl